just any match. You deserve the match. In front of the most historic crowd in the history of our sport, in the main event, MJF, Adam Cole, Wembley, All In.
Big time stuff, cannot wait. All In London, Sunday, August 27th, Wembley Stadium. If you can't be there in person, you will be able to catch it on pay-per-view.
So we will bring it to All In because we're under a month away now. And what's the mood been like with the number of tickets sold, but also that initial day when people are going, first show in the UK, you've gone all in with Wembley, and that first day going, how are the numbers going to be, and then what you got? What was the feeling like seeing that tick in?
You know, it's. I guess it's been the number one question that I've been asked on the media tour, just about that. And you know, as a promoter, you know, when you hear, nope, not Wembley Arena, Wembley Stadium, it's a monumental step forward. It's an incredible statement. And so I don't think anybody could have projected or predicted this amount of tickets would have been sold. You know, is 30,000, is 40,000 successful, is 50,000, you know, all the parameters. And now here we are, less than a month away, on the precipice of truly making history in London, with people coming from all over the globe, Australia, Japan, all over America, Mexico, Canada, the islands, all over Europe, Middle East. They're coming from literally all over the globe. The VIP section, I'll say, the influencers, the A-listers, the footballers, they all want a guitar shot. No, but it's going to be very interesting. It's going to be a historic night, and I think that everyone involved with AEW is sitting on the edge of their seat, counting down the days to be a part of history. You know, I think the rabid fan base of AEW is obviously immense. But when you look at what we'll call it the casual fan, I think a lot of people are going to be coming to Wembley for their very first time to witness AEW. You know, it's our first show in the country, but I think it's become such a spectacle. I think some people are coming that have never maybe even watched it on our TV. It's that big of an event, and I think everyone wants to be a part of history.
So obviously this is going to be the biggest attendance AEW's had so far. Do you think there's a reason why you've gone for a stadium in the UK before doing a stadium in the US? And how far away do you think AEW would be from running a stadium in the US?
You know, that's up to one man. But I think the decision he made to make a statement that here we are 5 years in to the growth of the brand, and our first ever event, like you said, in the United Kingdom, to be a stadium is it's just a massive statement. As far as the U.S., you know, it's a different market. There's, you know, we return back from All In and go right to All Out in Chicago, and we have 3 events in Chicago that week alone. So again, it's a different market. You know, we're doing New York City, Arthur Ashe Stadium. So I think the timing and I call it just kind of the law of supply and demand, the stars align for this event, and obviously the supply is the demand is fantastic, and we're meeting that with the supply. But history's going to be made. You know, I know you said the most attended event in AEW history. I think history's going to be made, and it's going to be the largest attended ever.
That's a bold statement. You've mentioned Tony Khan there. You've obviously worked with a lot of bosses over the years. You've even been the boss over the years. What would you say it's like? What's the differences with working with Tony Khan at the moment to your previous bosses?
He's you know, I like to say that I'm very passionate about the industry. He's very, very passionate about the professional wrestling industry. Obviously, you know, like all of us, to this day, I'm a huge wrestling fan. Tony grew up a wrestling fan. I think that gives a unique set point, a real understanding of it becomes part of your DNA. And look, it's a creative business, so it's subjective, much like the music business. Different genres, and some type of music, it doesn't fit necessarily every audience, and there's just different brands and all this. But the AEW brand has obviously resonated, and Tony's the driving force behind it. And the proof is, here we are, me and you, talking about an event, not at the arena, like I said, Wembley 100, and it's very, very special.
So this is the first show at Wembley since '92. You've wrestled a lot of people in that time. Is there anyone you would want that you've not faced in the past that you would want to wrestle if they were in their prime since 1992 at All In?
Oh, I'll leave that up to you critics to book the card and book the matches. To be a part of this is really, it's historic. I don't think anybody have it on their bingo card that Jeff Jarrett would be sitting in London 4 weeks away from the most attended wrestling event in history. So to be a part of it, again, the who's who of entertainment, of sport, is going to be at this event. And so I'm going to have an up close and personal look, and maybe bring an extra few guitars with me.
You've said about the celebrities. Is there anyone you would particularly like to give a guitar shot to?
You got any ideas? I mean, there's a few, but what about Prince Harry?
I think a few people would be quite pleased to see that. So whether you get close.
We joked around here the offices for a couple of days. Mr. Tumble, you like that?
Yeah.
What about Grealish, Jack?
Yes, absolutely, Jack Grealish. The list is endless of people.
It is. We could go on and on and on. There's a whole list, but I don't know. To crack somebody at Wembley, that would be a special guitar shot, to say the least.
I'm going to pull a different name here. Obviously, you were close with Owen Hart. Who would, if he was to compete on a show like All In, off the AEW roster, who would you want him to face?
Oh boy, you go all the way down that list. I mean, you just kind of have to start with an Omega. Owen was a great tag team wrestler and also a great singles wrestler. He could do it all. He's a high flyer. He's a mat wrestler. He could do a little bit of everything. I think Kenny's right up that alley. He could do a little bit of everything as well. I think Omega Owen would be a special match.
So just bringing things to your other side of things, rather than on screen, your backstage role, obviously it takes a big team to put something like this together. What is the value of the team that makes AEW work, and would you say there are unsung heroes there behind the scenes that people wouldn't necessarily know about?
I think timing's everything in so many ways, and so I think the time of year, I think Live Nation UK this is truly their backyard. They have a enormous multi-dimensional skill set. I think the AEW, not just it's hard to put into words, but you have production, and they're the best in the biz. You have the talent roster. You have so many different facets of a wrestling. Like I said, it all coming together is something that I'm really impressed with. The timing and the organizations that have all kind of meshed together. And look at where we're at. We're literally days away from making history. So a lot of things are being done right.
So one other thing that's was more of a return when you arrived in AEW was the return of your My World entrance theme. And obviously over the years you've had some classic entrance themes. I won't ask you to sing any of them now or anything.
Okay.
What was that like coming back out to My World again? Because obviously it's not something we'd heard for a little while.
I was asked about this earlier today. It's something that it kind of wraps. My World is truly professional wrestling. I'm at home. I've been doing it now a lot of years. I'm a third generation. My family has been a part of professional wrestling for 3 generations, dating back to the 1940s. So in a lot of ways, it is my world. I feel very comfortable walking through the curtain with the red light on, and no matter what the environment is, whether it's a single, a tag, a trios, an in-ring, Paul Walter Hauser getting fresh off winning a Golden Globe, cracking in with a guitar. any athlete. It's something, but that song has, I think, resonated specifically here in the United Kingdom. It's a theme that I think has resonated through the years, and I just it kind of encapsulates who Jeff Jarrett is.
So something else along those lines with the music was synonymous with your time in Impact. What about some of the match types which you had in Impact? Do you think that would fit into AEW nowadays? Things like King of the Mountain, Monsters Ball, Ultimate X. Would you like to see any of them happen in AEW?
You know, I'm not one who likes to go in reverse. So I think innovation is very, very important in our industry. You know, you can do a throwback every now and then, whether it's a match or whatever it may be, but I also think the most successful things are being innovative and creative and coming up with something new. And you won't always, you know, knock it out of the park, so to speak, but you have to try things. You got to innovate to figure out what really resonates with your audience.
So to change the subject slightly, you say about being innovative and things like that. You get a lot of crossovers, more so nowadays, between boxing, wrestling, MMA, those sort of things. Are there 3 wrestlers in AEW you think could become boxers?
Oh gosh. Well, I'd like to see somebody box Satnam. You know, and boxing's not my game, so I'm probably not the best to ask that question, but there's something about professional wrestlers that have that crossover appeal that can adapt, so probably got a few on our roster that could be boxers.
So you say about innovations in the industry, something that's become a lot more prevalent lately is the podcast industry in wrestling boomed over the last few years. You yourself have your own podcast as well. How do you think that's changed the wrestling landscape and how people can present themselves away from the action in the ring?
You know, my partner Conrad Thompson asked me for several years to do a podcast, and I had no interest. I told my stories on bus rides or plane rides or car rides, but he stayed persistent and said, you have a unique story. And now as I kind of look at it, and you know, I'm going into my 3rd year of podcasting, it's something that social media in so many ways changed the game. And not just professional wrestling, but it changed how we consume news, how we consume our entertainment, and certainly how we consume our wrestling. But podcasting is just another long form in so many ways of entertainment. But you know, a lot of people will listen to my podcast, and it's like it's a whole new generation of fans, and it's obviously pulling the curtain back. I like to say on the podcast, it's the story behind the story, and sometimes it's the story behind the story behind the story. And I think that is something that fans are you know, again, social media changed the game. That, you know, when I broke into the business, you had 8, 10, 12 minutes every Saturday morning or Saturday night to really be featured. And that's the only time your fan base got to really see. Now you can have direct communication with your fan base 24/7, 365. And so that's changed everything, and I think podcast goes right along in that.
Are there negatives to having that much communication with the fan base?
There is always going to be positive and negative. You know, when you look at society as a whole, everything is so divisive. Everything is politicized, which, you know, that's life. You can either adapt to it or complain about it and drive yourself crazy. You just kind of have to understand that's the lay of the land. So what's the negative to it? You know, if there is one, you just got to adapt to it. But you have to understand that people are going to voice their opinion nowadays, regardless if they know anything about it, whether they care about it. It's just something that comes along with society now. People making commentaries. Again, growing up in this industry, knowing that as long as they're talking about you, it's a positive. So it's really hard to be a negative.
Just a couple of quick fire ones then, just to sort of round things off. Top 3 UK wrestlers of all time.
I'm not a historian, because when I start giving 1, 2, and 3, then I'm leaving this one out and leaving that one out and leaving this one out. But I can tell you, World of Sport in so many ways, it created a foundation for British wrestling that a lot of countries around the world, they just don't have. And so you look at that era, that's what I'm saying is the top 3 British wrestlers. Look, again, we could talk about, oh gosh, Drew and Sheamus and Finn